Alice, I guess when you're looking at preparation for mating as far as sheep are concerned, the first thing is to look at the ewes and cull the ones you don't need.
Exactly. So this is mostly aimed at lifestyle block farmers because I'm sure that actual sheep farmers already know all of these things, but something we find with lifestyle farmers is that they're really reluctant to cull their flock.
Well, they haven't got names for them all.
Yeah, exactly. But it can be in the best interests of the rest of the flock to cut down on ewe numbers at the start of the mating season.
So we're looking at what? We're looking at lameness and udder conformation.
Yeah, so first thing to think about is whether or not the ewe had any trouble last year. If you know, if it's a lifestyle, you may actually know whether the ewe had trouble lambing. And if she had difficulty, then perhaps she's not the best one to breed this year. Other things to think about is whether or not she's going to be able to walk around properly. So any indications of limping, she's probably not the best one to be looking at breeding from. Other things to think about is whether she can feed her lambs, so whether or not her udder works properly, and whether she's in good body condition score, because obviously when she's pregnant she has to feed her lamb as well as herself, and if she's in poor condition to begin with, A, she's less likely to become pregnant, and B, she's less likely to carry her lambs to term.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess things like reproductive diseases, I mean, how do you have to get a vet in to check that, I'd assume?
To check whether they have reproductive diseases, yes, you would need a vet to come in and check. However, if you've had trouble with your lambs the previous year, you may already have a suspicion you've had a reproductive disease, something like toxo. If you had lamb deaths the previous year, then you're unlikely to get it again the following season. However, we can vaccinate for things like that. So when you're thinking about reproductive diseases, you can actually pre-plan for them by vaccinating your ewes.
I would imagine that the best advice that we can give small block holders is literally ring your vet, get them to have a look and explain all these different things, give them a cup of tea and then head off.
We all like a cup of tea. Yeah, so it could be a good idea to get your vet just to have a quick look at your ewe flock before mating, to check condition score, teeth, things like that, because if your ewe can't eat, she can't feed her lamb. And then, yeah, your vet might be able to give you a good idea of whether or not you should cull some of your ewes.
I mean, basically you as a vet would explain what you're doing so that the following season they can do it themselves.
Yeah, precisely. And another thing your vet can help you with is looking at how much cover you've got, as in how much grass you've got, and how many ewes you actually may be able to feed throughout the winter.
Nutrition, what a big subject.
Yeah, I don't think I want to go there, but...
No. Well, that's another story for another day. But so, okay, we've culled the ones we don't want, or
Yes.
that aren't in the right position. How do we prepare the ones that are left?
So, if you've had a vet check, or if you know how to check body condition score yourself, you need to be thinking about improving your ewe's body condition score up to mating so that she's more likely to get pregnant or even to have multiple lambs.
Yep.
Yeah. Another thing that you need to be thinking about is crutching your ewes so that they're less likely to contract any diseases in the actual mating process. So we usually crutch a few weeks before lambing to decrease stress on the ewes before mating.
Before mating.
To decrease the stress on the ewes around the actual mating time, because they're more likely to become pregnant if there's a low stress environment.
You'd also look at anti-abortion vaccines and things?
Yeah. So with abortion vaccines, things like toxo and Campy is something you need to discuss with your vet properly, because they'll be the ones supplying it, and it'll be at least 4 to 6 weeks prior to mating that you need to be talking about that.
Can you have ewes that are over fat?
Yes, you can. You really don't want your ewes to be, say, using the 1 to 5 body condition score scale. You really don't want them over 4, probably 4 is pushing it. They may have trouble actually getting pregnant if they're too fat.
No, they wouldn't be able to conceive.
Yeah, but you don't want anything less than a 2 either, because they're just too skinny.
Because I was just thinking about a lot of small blocks where they're a bit overfed and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, okay. Now the next thing, I guess, is timing. I mean, we've done the culling and we've got everything. All the ewes are all sort of a peak condition. When's the best time to introduce a ram?
Well, that really depends on when you want to have your lambs. For sheep farmers, they want their lambs early so that they can then fatten them up and get them, say, on the Christmas market. But with a lifestyle block, it's really ideal to have your ewes lamb later in the season when you've got lots of grass and the lambs are less at risk of catching hypothermia or other diseases from the cold. So,
and timing for school holidays so the children can actually help and be there to watch.
yeah, absolutely. So I definitely recommend mating your ewes later. You also have a greater chance of them getting pregnant if you mate later than, say, May.
Okay, so do we worry about rams? I mean, most people wouldn't have a ram necessarily on the property, but if they do, what do we need there?
Yeah, if you have your own ram, it would be a good idea to get a vet to check your ram out before mating, unless he's a proven performer. So what the vet would do is come in, have a look at his testicles and scrotum, have a feel, check for anything like scrotal mange, excessive wool around the scrotum, and then we have a feel of the testicles and make sure that they feel nice and firm, because that means they're ready to go. We were told at vet school they should feel like 2 firm tui cans. And we also check for epididymal diseases, because those can be quite detrimental to the ram's production.
So would you do that, I mean, as a vet, are you coming out to look at the ewes and working out which ones we need to cull?
Yeah, we can look at the rams at the same time.
You look at the same time.
And it's also important to think exactly the same as you would for the ewes. Things like dentition, lameness, body condition score, they're all really important in the rams as well. Obviously, the healthier he is, the better he's able to perform.
So really, it's all preparation this time of year?
It's probably a little early to start doing your vet checks, but definitely thinking yourself about who had trouble last year and whether or not you're going to cull anyone.
Brilliant. Alice, thank you very much.